it's a new week. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning live on Channels Television. I'm Ladi Williams. First off, let's take a look at what's happening in the markets. We see oil prices jump $3 today, with Brent above $110 a barrel as European Union nations consider joining the United States in a Russian oil embargo, while a weekend attack on Saudi oil facilities caused jitters. Brent crude futures climbed $3.44 to $111.37 a barrel, adding to a 1.2% rise last Friday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $3.54 to $108.24, extending a 1.7% jump last Friday. Prices moved higher ahead of talks this week between the European Union governments and the U.S. President Joe Biden for a series of summits that aim to harden the West's response to Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine. And back here, the Monetary Policy Committee of Nigeria's Central Bank will hold its second meeting for this year today, March the 21st. The meeting comes a week after the latest report from the National Bureau of Statistics pointed that the country's headline inflation rose by 0.16% to 15.7% last month, largely driven by fuel scarcity. At its last meeting in January, the MPC retained the monetary policy rate at 11.5% and kept all other parameters unchanged. Meanwhile, all eyes are now on the MPC for its next line of action amid concerns over the prolonged impact of energy costs, particularly diesel and aviation fuel, on the country's economy. And after the break, we'll take a look at Nigeria's printing industry. We'll see what's happening there. That's the moment. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. And now to our first conversation. Well, as the political scene heats up, stakeholders in the printing industry are gearing up for one of their busiest times. Contracts for billboards, posters, among others, should boost revenue in the print industry. How much of this revenue will be accumulated by local players and how much will be exported? We have the chairman, Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria, Mr. Gbemi Malamo, joining us on Business Morning. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I guess you have your year cut out for you. Can you paint a picture of the size, of the printing industry in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I want to start by saying that CPON, Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria, was enacted by an act of parliament to regulate printing business in Nigeria. Printing is one of the largest employer of labor in Nigeria, and in terms of employment, it's only second to traditional farming. It's very small, dispersed, and diverse. But when you aggregate it together, you are faced with a very, very huge monster. The challenge is that monster is under a lot of threat, economic threat. And the time we are in now, we need to begin to look inward to be able to solve our collective problems. That's what capacity building is all about.
Right, and you talked about challenges, in that sector. What are these challenges?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. We know naturally, like every business in Nigeria, we're a service industry, we're also a manufacturing industry. We buy a lot of diesel. I think we should use diesel as a parameter for measuring.
Everyone is.
Yeah, everybody is suffering that. Yeah, that's one, because most of the presses now, they have to start minimizing the way they open. We consume diesel, and we have huge machineries. There are people that have invested millions of dollars in printing. The first challenge we have is that most of our capacity are empty, even in the midst of so many things. I know in your intro, you talk about optimism. And I was kind of smiling because we're not seeing the optimism. We're not being optimistic.
Right.
When you look at all over the world, particularly in Nigeria, government are the biggest spender. Government intentionally all over the world spend money to aid their economy. The reverse is the case in Nigeria. Maybe not government, maybe people that are in government. What they do now is that instead of helping the local industry, they go abroad. And we are going to have an election in less than a year. Now, this election is supposed to be a time for us to be very happy because, ballot paper are going to be printed. But we are faced with the challenges of all this ballot paper being printed abroad. And you know what? We're in a pandemic year. So it would be safe to say we're going to have a pandemic election.
Wow.
Or post-pandemic election. So if we do that, and we have a challenge in the global supply chain, which we are having now, at the moment right now, we have not recovered from COVID. What is going to happen? Printing abroad at the expense of local capacity.
Printing abroad, but why? Why do they?
I think you need to ask INEC that question. But what they have been saying is that we don't have capacity to do that. And in response to that, yeah, we have to be very scientific. We don't want to talk about facts, figures. You just come and say whatever you like. In response to that, we have asked all our members nationwide to come up with a documentary of their capacity. Now, we now show the capacity to the whole world. You see, once upon a time, and in fairness to them, once upon a time in our electioneering campaign, ballot paper has evolved. Our electioneering process has evolved. You know, when was the last time you had somebody snatching ballot paper? That has not happened again because all the integrity of the electioneering system rested on the ballot paper once upon a time. But right now we have the card reader. So the card reader has removed a bit of integrity on the ballot paper, which means that what ballot paper does now is basically the ballot paper that leaves INEC, we ensure that it's returned. So nobody's going to go and get a bogus ballot paper and add it to election. Now, recently again, the president assented to the fact that a result can be transmitted electronically, which is very fantastic. So with all these things, there's no reason, there's no scientific reason where we should go abroad and print ballot paper. Now, let me say this. We have experienced a lot of disruption in postponement of election. And I can tell you authoritatively, the reason for that was because of the fact that ballot paper was printed outside Nigeria. We, as a regulator, we also want to contribute our quota to national development. And we are saying, okay, if you have a few people printing things and you have time constraint, logic tells you that you can get more people to do it. Get more people to do it. Then the story is, oh, there is no security. The question is, what is the security we're talking about? We can help INEC.
That's security with the ballot?
No, security with the printing locally.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of security?
Well, we need to see as INEC. We need to ask them. You know, people just say a lot of things. And I think we're not going to make headway in Nigeria if we don't begin to put the country first. People put themselves above national interest. If you have genuine excuses, we can sit down together, we can look at it, and look at how we can mitigate it. Not that we have a lot of money we are going to spend. People have invested their money, and what do they get at the end of the day? It's not only ballot paper, even print production of books. We have a population of over 200 million. Out of that population, about 60–70% are in one school or the other. So if we go by the national book policy that recommends 5 books per term, let's even assume that in a year, a student will use 10 books. Now, we're talking about 1.2 billion books. If we are printing 1.2 billion books, we will see the impact on the economy.
So aside from the ballot papers being taken abroad for printing, other books too are being taken abroad for printing.
For printing.
That's quite
now
That's taking dollars out of...
Yes, taking dollar and impoverishing the nation, because locally we can print. Now, the question again is that it's actually cheaper to print abroad to a large extent.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. You know, that's with books. It's our policy needs to be updated. Now, if I'm bringing in paper, we don't manufacture paper in Nigeria. That's another thing entirely which we need to address. That's a huge industry. We use about 3 million tons of paper every year.
Imported?
Yes, imported. And all we're talking about is just oil. 3 million tons. A ton is about $1,000. That will give you an idea what that is. So when I'm bringing in paper, I pay up to 25% duty. Now these guys, publishers, when they are bringing in books, they pay 0% duty. I'm already at a disadvantage. I can't compete with them. That's on one side. Now, foreigner also will come into Nigeria and begin to canvass for book. And you know what they do? They will ask the publisher that they're going to give them up to 9 months credits to pay. Yeah. So after the job, 9 months later, because they have facility, they have help from their country. We are struggling to get financing from bank. And even when we get the money, we pay up to 30%. So it's the way the whole thing is structured, we are at a very great disadvantage. And that's why we are clamoring for a protectionist policy. If we are not protected, our members will not have job to do. If we don't have job to do, there will continue to be insecurity. So all the insecurity we are fighting, we're fighting insecurity quite well, but we're not fighting the root causes of the insecurity.
Because at the end of the day, it's cheaper for me to go and print abroad than actually, printing here. But what kind of conversations are you having, to at least make it cheaper to actually print, here and actually stop importing paper, because that's quite ridiculous.
We can't isolate the price factor. If you look at the price factor, we'll miss the point. Once upon a time, we had issue with rice. We import rice. And government put in resources. Now we have local rice. The local rice is still not cheap. But with planning and everything, it will come to a point that it will be cheap. Why is government doing that? They want to create employment. They want to get people off the street. So if we look at just the cost alone, we'll miss the point. Now, what we are saying is that when you go and print abroad, people don't have job to do. So what are we doing about it? We are looking at, government is talking about creating jobs. For us, the first step to creating job is to ensure that existing job, we safeguard them. That's our own first step. So what we're saying to government is let Nigerian printing job remain in Nigeria. It's a big campaign. Let Nigerian printing job remain in Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to all of us. If you don't take the job out, we come in to do it here, we will develop capacity. The issue is not that we cannot build on capacity. And in actual fact, we have capacity. All we just need to do is organize ourselves. When we are well organized, capacity is a factor of time. There was a time in Nigeria here, I think during Obasanjo regime, and the election was cancelled because somebody's name was not on the ballot, and they had a very short time to produce it. All those things were produced in Nigeria. So we need the will. We need the INEC chairman. Is a democratic umpire. And if you're a democratic umpire, you are building a democracy, a sustainable democracy. Going abroad to print is not one of the way to build sustainable democracy. Not only that, again, because he will say to us that, I give this job to Nigerian printer. I didn't ask them to go and print abroad. The truth is that any of our member that goes to print abroad, we're going to sanction them. We're going to revoke their license. And I think we're getting to a point that Nigeria belongs to all of us. What belongs to Nigeria, all of us must sit down together and benefit from it. No, not even benefit. So use it to be able to survive.
Talking about, sanctioning, how do you know when a printer actually takes the job abroad?
Yeah, we're going, by the provision of the Act. The Act empower us to ensure that anybody that is a printer in Nigeria register with us. That's one point. Two, we have an idea of what INEC is going to print. We know some of our members that takes job abroad, actually. We have to do our own investigation, but we're open to work with other security agencies. First and foremost, let's establish, can we print in Nigeria or not? If we cannot print in Nigeria, if it can be proven scientifically, of course, everybody will be happy.
So you're telling me 100%, printing in Nigeria is actually possible, is attainable?
Correct. It's attainable. It's attainable. It will shock you when you begin to see the documentary we're going to pull out, when you begin to see the investment people have made, we've audited their presses. We know exactly what they can produce on the ballot paper. So it's not a question of we're just saying things. The challenge is that, one, I think INEC are working with the wrong advisors. Some of these advisors are not interested in Nigeria. They're just possibly interested in their pockets. Because even by the law, we are supposed to act as advisors to government agencies. We made a lot of attempts, to talk to them and all that in a friendly manner. We want Nigeria to succeed. We want you to succeed. You need us, we need you. And for whatever reason, they were still waiting. And in fairness to them, lately they advertise for printing which is a very good step. We must commend, when they do what is right, we should commend them for that.
Right, yeah.
But that's still not just enough. You have advertised for printing. By Procurement Act, when all those things, ballots, when the procurement tender are being opened, we are also supposed to be there just to witness how transparent it is. We've also written them to the facts of that. But what we are saying particularly, let's sit down together. Look, when we talk about security, we print money in Nigeria. Money. Security is not, security in printing, there's no absolute security. But security is about being a step ahead of the forger. There's a way you can print with a printer. And the printer will not even know the covert thing hidden in the printing. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Those are security things hidden in what is printing. It doesn't know it. But the system that INEC is using now is that the prepress, the process of making the prepress, they give it to the printer. And if they patronize local printer to a certain degree, we must give it to them. But we're saying that, okay, this degree we can improve on that. So we're saying that let's sit down together, let's work together, not because of anything, to make Nigeria better, to make our industry better. Look at in 1977, Nigeria wanted to host Festival of Arts, Festac 77. They could have chosen the easy way out and go and rent hotels. But they decided to build a town. They used the resources to build a town. We have that town now. Whenever we do election in 4 years, we should do something that we can show for it locally.
But talking about security, when it comes to printing, sensitive documents, how does technology play into all of this? What kind of technology is, being used right now in Nigeria?
It's a complex thing. Complex because technology could do a lot of things. But again, also, it's a factor of the kind of equipment we have locally. So if I'm going to advise INEC, we audit the equipment available and we look at the technology that can actually work on the equipment that are available and give us the desired results. Because right now, ballot paper, I was in UK some time ago during the election and I went with my friend to vote. I was surprised. The paper was just what they need. They know you. They know you have only one vote. And they're going to give you one ballot paper. So whether it's a black and white ballot paper, whether it's blue or green, it's not too material because there are other factors. And we're getting there now. We have the biometrics. We have the electronic transmission of results. So what else do we need? So if people are saying things, I am hoping that you as a fourth estate of the realm will call all of us together, we'll sit down, and the public will look at what we're saying, whether what we are saying is just, tales by moonlight, or whatever we are saying is right. But if we are going to build Nigeria, we have to begin to look inward. That's a local defense. Doing things locally is a local defense we have against globalization, which is at its weakest ebb at the moment.
Right, and obviously, with the war in Ukraine, right now we've seen that impact,
in agriculture,
energy prices.
Even in agriculture.
Yes,
everywhere.
Every sector.
So imagine we're at the verge of election and something happened. Do you know how many tonnage of paper we need? Tonnage of paper we need to bring in. They could also argue that we are still going to bring the paper in. Which one is safer? 6 months before the election, you have the papers under your control. Other than waiting a week to the election, and you now have to postpone election in the guise of other things. If the election is postponed this year, I think we have to, the last one that was postponed, the president promised there will be an inquiry into it. It never happened. But this time around, we are going to hold the chairman of INEC responsible if election is postponed under whatever guise.
Right. All right. We'll hope all parties can actually come together and find a way to move things forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Agbemi Malomo, Chairman, Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria, SIPON.
Thank you very much.
Having you on Business Morning.
Thank you.
All right, so after the break, it's World Agric Day. Tomorrow, we'll drill down on challenges and prospects with global food security. That's after the break. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. Welcome back. Well, World Agric Day, March 22nd, that's tomorrow. it's coming at a time when food insecurity is a major risk occasioned by the COVID-19 and now the war in Ukraine. What would be the best way to celebrate the day this year? The market system and specialist for integrated agriculture activity, Mr. Bassi Achibong, joins us from Yola for the conversation. Great to have you on the program. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Larry. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning.
It's great to...
Yeah, great to have you. So this year's agriculture theme, the theme is growing a climate for tomorrow. We've heard talks about, moving to cleaner energy to save the planet, but, we've seen the war in Ukraine further show the great reliance, globally on dirty alternatives. What do you think would be the catalyst here to get the climate we actually need?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with the war in Ukraine and what we are doing here. As you know, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture and the Feed the Future Nigeria Integrated Activity is a USAID effort to reduce poverty in northeast Nigeria because of issues of insurgency and increase in poverty in the region. And so I think we need to know that the war in Ukraine has its own impacts directly in Nigeria. As at 2021, Nigeria imported about 128 million naira worth of wheat from Russia. And we also import a number of seafood, particularly frozen food from Russia. Nigeria also imports from Ukraine milk preparation worth 721 million. And so when you look at this and you look at what is happening, there is a demand gap. So for us working in the Northeast, we are looking at building, capitalizing on what is happening to look inward and get farmers to produce to meet the needed raw materials for processing by different millers and firms.
Right, and obviously this war is putting a huge pressure, on global food supply. But looking at what Nigeria is actually producing, how can we, bridge this gap that's happening globally?
Okay, so let me quickly say that it starts from both those who are processing and knowing that they cannot just talk about doing aggregation, as it were, but they have to be involved right from the process of getting farmers to produce to meet their needs. For instance, the demand for maize in 2021 was about 15 million metric tons, and Nigeria was just able to produce about 10.5 metric tons. And so there's that demand gap of about 4.5 metric tons, which informs imports. So for those who are milling, if they invest in the production side, it would have saved them the needed foreign exchange. And the beginning point is actually to get the right kind of seeds. And as you know, IITA, International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, is known for their research in and they are expert in seed production. That is exactly what we are doing here in the Northeast, to get farmers to begin to think business, to get farmers to begin to not look at themselves just as farmers, but to look at what the market needs and then produce to meet market. So for us, we are very conscious of the fact that there is gap, a large gap in in rice, large gap in maize, and gap in soya beans. And these are some of the things. These are some of the produce that Nigeria is importing from different countries. So we need to look inward. We need to look at those entities that are working to increase production.
Right.
So for us in okay.
Yeah, for you, yeah, you continue your thought, yeah.
Okay, yes. So what we are doing is to look at the end to end. It's just like the upstream and downstream sector in petroleum. Those who are milling are looking at final products, but they cannot just focus on the final product. They need to be involvement throughout the value chain up to those who are producing. That is where we are expert on. We facilitate linkages between the off-taker, the processors, with the farmers. Our role here is to ensure that the farmers produce to meet what the market needs. So we look at the entire ecosystem as far as crop production and animal production is concerned.
All right, and we've seen the disruption, with the war in Ukraine. We've seen countries that are heavily reliant, on Russian wheat. We've seen them start to, come up with other options. For Nigeria now, what options do we have actually?
Well, there are two things with what is happening with the distortions in the markets in Ukraine. One is that the prices of those goods which we depend on imports, wheat, maize, soya beans, those prices will increase. That also presents an opportunity for us, for the government, for key players, key actors to come together and look inwards. We need to be able to develop a system that does not really depend on imports. And that starts from us getting farmers the right kind of support, the right kind of inputs. Inputs here, are we talking about seeds? Are we talking about fertilizer? And are we talking about giving them the right kind of training that allows them to produce within the space they have and have optimal yield? IITA is a research institute. And so what we're doing here is bringing the research into the field. We are developing a robust seed system. We are already going on as if we knew that this will come up. We have developed what we call community-based seed system. Because if you don't have the right kind of seeds, whatever other inputs that you pour on your crop will be a waste. We have had instances where farmers are given grains to plant instead of seeds. But what we do in IITA and our partners is to ensure that the right kind of seeds that fits their environment, that speaks to what will give the farmers high yield and meets the demand of the industry is planted. So what we do is to take the farmer through that process. There's still a lot of opportunity despite the war. In every adverse environment or situation, you create opportunities that will allow you to survive. And so we see a huge opportunity here for Nigerians, for the government, for those who are milling, for those who are processing, to come together and look at the entire system.
Right, and food security obviously is a major issue now globally. But how close is Nigeria to self-sufficiency?
I'm afraid to say we're not there yet. But we have a number of processes, a number of programs, which are moving on towards the path of being self-sufficient. But there are a lot of constraints. I don't know if you did agric
in secondary school. I actually did, and I did very well in agric science.
Okay, something that you would note, which should worry you.
Problems of agriculture.
Problems facing agriculture in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, the same problems, yeah.
Those problems are still the same since I was in class 3 to your own time, to the time of our children. And so it is something that is an indicator to show that perhaps we are not, there's something that we should be doing, to be able to at least eliminate some of those problems facing agriculture, which is what IETA and other research firms and research institutions are currently doing. But now what we are doing is to move those research from the lab to the field. Looking at, for instance, here, before we got into working in the Northeast, we needed to do soil tests and soil sampling to match appropriate crop varieties to the agroecology of the Northeast. And so when you look at wheat, for instance, I would expect that with wheat seeds, the right kind of seeds be tested to see how it fits into the different agroecology in Nigeria. That is the only way you can have what is adaptable to the local environment here. And so we already have efforts ongoing with maize, with soya beans, with rice and other commodities.
All right.
So
all right. Yeah, you can carry on. Yes, your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So my thinking and my our own suggestion largely is that we need to deal with the issue of seeds. Once you have the right kind of seeds, then half or maybe 60% of the problem is solved. Because if you don't deal with seeds, if you don't have the right seeds that fits the agroecology of any environment, then whatever other inputs that you are dealing with will be waste. One of the problems that is subsisting here in the Northeast is that, when you apply fertilizer to crop, there are certain fertilizers that are specific to certain growth pattern of crop. So if you pick urea, for instance, urea is good for seeding of grain. But here we are faced with a situation that urea is not allowed in the Northeast because granules are used for improvised explosive devices. So we needed to look at how can we circumvent this. And so we partner with firms who are producing liquid fertilizer to be able to link them up with farmers so that they can still continue to do their farming.
All right.
We also, thank you. So,
all right, Mr. All right, Mr. Archibald. Well, I see you guys are, making some progress there with the myriad of problems, facing us in that agri sector. Thank you so much, Mr. Basi Achibong, Specialist Integrated Agriculture Activity. Thank you for coming on our Business Morning today.
Thank you very much, Larry. Anytime.
Okay. All right, now for a look at the markets, we have Will standing by right there. Hi, Will. How's the market looking?
Good morning, Laddie. The market is, this week probably going to be positive. Last week it was a bit, bleak for the equities market, but for the forex market it ended positive. But that's despite the decline we're seeing in the forex reserves. Declined about 39 million naira last week. But trading activities ended positive, as I said earlier. The total turnover of transactions closed 28.29% up yesterday at 500. Last week at 500.20 million dollars. A further analysis of the trading results shows that the total value of transactions at the FX derivatives fell by 0.31% to $90.18 million. We also saw a negative of transactions for the forwards market as well. Now, looking at the FX spot market, which is the I&E window, we also saw a drop of 32.46%, which translated to 410.02 naira. That 32% drop translates to about 197 million naira, decline when compared to $607 million traded in the previous week. Now, the naira appreciated at the NAFEX window by 0.02%. That's to 415 naira 89 kobo against 415 naira 98 kobo that was traded in the previous week. Now, move over to the bond market where we saw trading was, sideways as investors continue to cherry pick on securities. The market closed bullish as well. Yields continue to drop there. At the close of trading on Friday, the overall benchmark yield closed at 10.45%. Now we have Akpewe Oputo to give us a deeper dive of what happened in the fixed income market last week. Good morning, Akpewe.
Hi, good morning.
Now, I'm just talking about what happened in the fixed income market last week. We're seeing bullish transactions, especially for the treasury bills, and the OMO section as well. So in the bond market, we're seeing going to have a bond auction today. But can you give us a deeper dive into what happened last week in the fixed income market ahead of, what's going to happen this week?
Okay, so for last week, we had the NCB auction that held, and a total of about 58 billion matured into the system. But what we saw was an oversubscription because of the level of liquidity in the system. So about 364 billion subscription in the market. And we saw the DMO come and issue 176 billion with stop rates declining across the tenors. We saw the 91 days close at 1.74%, the 182 days closing at 3%, and the longest tenor, which is the most actively sought after trading, closing at 4% level. So a lot of liquidity in the system, and this has actually also affected what we saw in the bond space. We saw rates also trending downward, especially on the short tenor bonds, the 2023s trading around 4.5% due to the level of liquidity we saw in the market. So we still expect to see the buying interest spoil into this week's trading. On the Euro bond space too, we saw that the Nigerian were able to raise 1.25 billion through the Eurobond issuance, and this made Nigeria one of the first SSA sovereigns to access the international capital markets in 2022. We saw the 7-year paper being raised at 8.375% with a subscription of about 3.6 billion. So a lot of investors looking to play in the Eurobond space as well.
Okay, so speaking of things to happen today, the CBN, that's the central bank, will be having their monetary policy meeting, to talk about the decisions, whether they're going to, lower rates or increase rates. What do you think what do you think investors should expect today?
Okay, so at the MPC meeting is scheduled to hold today. we don't expect the rates to change. The MPR rates we expect to remain at the 11.5% levels, because a reduction in these rates will actually spur inflation from the 15.7% levels that we saw it reported now. And if you increase the rates, the MPR rates will affect the cost of borrowing in the market, and this will reduce the economic production capacity, considering that we have a spike in energy prices right now. You see the diesel currently trading above 700 naira in the market. So at the bond auction that is scheduled to hold today, so we already mentioned there's about 150 billion on offer. We think the markets are going to trade around where the secondary rates are currently trading. So it's the reopening of the 2026 and the 2042 bonds. This 2026 currently trading around 10.11% in the market, and the 2042 trading around 12.6% level. So we expect that the auction would reflect what the secondary market is currently doing.
Thank you so much, Akpewo Oputu. Akpewo Oputu is a fixed income dealer at Access Bank. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. So, Ladi, that's what we have today. We saw, well, last week, the equities market space did not do well. 4 out of the 4 trading sessions were in the red. And just one trading session, you can see that everything was, there's a sea of red there. And only the industrial goods, because it remained unchanged for 3 out of the 5 sessions. So that was the only reason why it closed in the positive. So we're hoping that this week will be a better
let's hope for a better week. And obviously all eyes, on the
MPC meeting today. And we're hoping to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see how markets actually react, to the decision today. Thank you so much, Will, for the update.
You're welcome.
All right, so after the break, we head on to London. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. This is Business Morning. All right, now let's head on to the UK. We have Juliana right there. Great to have you, Juliana. Good morning. So, see, Labour has urged the business secretary to launch legal action against P&O ferries. They've been in the news since over the weekend over a scandalous decision to sack about 800 workers without warning. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, good morning, Laddie. Last Thursday's decision by P&O Ferries, as you said, to sack with immediate effect 800 staff has not gone down well, both with the government and also with the general public. It's been noted, and of course, during the coronavirus pandemic, we know the travel and leisure sector have really been hit hard. Millions of pounds was lost, not just by airlines, but of course as well the ferry sector. P&O, they run ferries between Hull and Calais and Dover and Calais. They made this decision after they took hundreds of thousands of pounds of public money because of the furlough scheme to retain these staff, and then they sacked them all in a Zoom briefing. It caused lots of controversy. So many of the staff didn't leave the ship at the time. But union bosses and the Labour Party are really disgruntled with this fire and rehire scheme, which lots of companies have been illegally doing. Well, at the moment it's not illegal, but a debate will be set up tonight in the House of Commons, a 3-hour debate to try and find out whether or not this clause can be sacked. So what a lot of employers are doing is getting you in on a rate, sacking you, and then you beg for your position back and they take you back on a lower fee. That's what they're thinking P&O Ferries will be doing. So Labour have launched this 3-hour debate, and they want the fire and rehire scheme to be outlawed tomorrow, and potentially these 800 staff can get their jobs back.
Right, fire rehire, quite a scam there. Well, it's a new week. What data are we expecting?
Yes, it is a new week today. I suppose an important date is today because myself and our director, Javed Agar, are celebrating our birthdays today, which is a very important day on the economic calendar. And apart from that, this week we are expecting on Wednesday inflation data. Now, we know inflation at the moment for January is running at 5.5%. It's the 21st of March today, so we're really looking in the rearview mirror. On Wednesday, we're going to be getting inflation data for February. Now, economists have got it pitched in at about 6%. It could come in much higher than that, 7.5% potentially. Last week on Thursday, the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee gathered, and they forecast further. They think it could actually reach about 8% next month, when, of course, we're getting that hike in national insurance tax and the energy bills are going to be coming in. So, of course, we'll be getting that, and I'm sure there'll be an update on P&O ferries. And then, of course, there is this ongoing invasion of Ukraine. I'm sure there'll be updates from that too, Laddie.
Sure, sure. And a happy birthday to you and Javed. All right, Julia, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I'll save you some cake.
Oh, please. I love cake, please. Thank you.
I know you do.
All right, now let's take a look at the other markets. We see, let's see Bitcoin there. We see the Fear Greed Index that tracks the sentiment in the market today. It's at 30%, showing that it's just fear right now. Last week it was extreme fear, but that's an improvement. But it's still fear in the market at this point. We see the price of Bitcoin is trading at $40,997 at 8 a.m. this morning. And the market cap sits at $1.85 trillion. That's down about 2.07%. We're seeing quite a pullback this morning in the market, and Bitcoin actually losing that 41,000 range. We see resistance there at $42,400 for Bitcoin. Volume traded in Bitcoin, $21.65 billion. We see Ethereum there trading at $2,872. That's up about 1.85%. We see Ethereum there moving in opposite direction with Bitcoin, and but most top of the market cap is all negative on that counter. All right, let's bring in Olumide Adesina, our financial market analyst, to break it down for us. Hello, Olumide. Good morning.
Yeah, hello, Laddie. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, so we're seeing that pullback. I think it started late Sunday, now into Monday, and Bitcoin there trading about 40,000 at 8 a.m. What's happening with price action?
Yeah, so the price action is just showing the reaction investors are pretty much having right now. Ukraine-Russia crisis still remain on the major headline, and it seems like the Russians are not de-escalating anytime soon. We are seeing reports that the Russians are becoming more aggressive and using more dangerous weapons, and that has really kept investors on the shaky loop. But I think price action suggests that the bulls are having the battle of their lives, and for Bitcoin to stay above $40,000 with an interest rate hike regime and also the geopolitical concern shows that the bulls are having the upper hand. And you need to also understand that the narrative in the crypto market is being upstaged by the growing adoption of NFTs. We've heard in recent times a powerful music label, Universal Music Label, buying 8 NFTs for almost $361,000. That definitely gives some excitement in the NFT marketplace. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo, a popular football star, also invested in a cricket NFT marketplace, which is going for raising about $100 million valuation. It was part of the investors. That also included some excitement. Then finally, Chinese social media Weibo also had to launch the NFTs, where Weibo has this Twitter-like functionality, so users could really mint their tweets. That also increased the adoption. So we are seeing adoption growing in the crypto market abstract world. But the reality is that the liquidity is getting dried up, and that's on two counts. One, we are seeing investors moving their funds away from centralized crypto exchanges to non-custodial wallets, and that's why you see Ethereum and Bitcoin having dry liquidity on crypto exchanges. Secondly,
Right, I think we lost Olumide there. Was trying to tell us about liquidity on crypto exchanges actually drying up. It seems that traders are moving most of their crypto out of exchanges into non-custodial wallets, as he was saying that. All right, we'll try and get Olumide back, but let's see what's happening with top alts by market cap. There we see BNB there. It's down about 1.59% this morning, trading at $391 per coin. We see it's all red on that counter this morning, and we see Cardano there, 88 cents, down about 1.94%, and Solana, the biggest downer on that counter, is down about 2.47%. XRP, 81 cents, that's down 0.57%. We see XRP still holding on strong to that 80 cents range. Look at top 5 gainers counter there. We see Bitcoin Gold, one of the forks of Bitcoin there, having a price rally this morning. It's up about 16.76%, trading at $39.17. I've not seen Bitcoin fork on the top gainers list for a while now, so today that's changed. And we see Bitcoin Cash also on that counter, but not on the top 5. Ethereum Classic, one of the oldies, also trading at $39. That's up about 8.75%. And Dash, $119.95 per coin. That's up about 8.26%. More of the oldies we're seeing on the top 5 gainers. We also see Decred there, trading at $55.45 per coin. It's up 2.62%. I guess the only new one on that counter is Kusama. That's KSM, $152.05 per coin, up about 3%. And the top 5 losers, we know ApeCoin. That one has been rallying for a while now, and it's having quite a pullback. All right, I think we have Olumide Adesina back on the line. Hello, Olumide. We lost you there. You can finish your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it was network, yeah. So the narrative is just the same. And based on just rightly what you said, the adoption in that NFT space is bringing some buzz in the crypto market. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier, we are seeing drawdowns on crypto exchanges as investors tend to keep their crypto coins in non-custodial wallets. So that is where prices dysfunctionality comes to play. But right now, I think the crypto market is having some form of support with the president and geopolitical uncertainty.
Right, quite interesting, because when the Fed actually announced that rate hike, I was expecting, Bitcoin to tumble, by a great deal. But would you say the market is actually maturing?
Yeah, in a way, but also you need to also look at the narrative that investors were pretty much not too excited that the U.S. Fed brought in a water gun approach to tackle inflation. Inflation right now is more than 4-decade high, and they felt that 25 basis point upside was not good enough. So that's why we saw Bitcoin still above. But rightly, as you said, that Bitcoin is maturing, but it remains to be seen if that will continue, because you need to see the correlation between the Bitcoin market and US tech stocks, which tend to be very positive. So experts are looking at drawdowns from those assets will definitely have impact on the crypto market, but we've not seen that in recent time.
Right, quite interesting, Olumide. All right, we'll see how Bitcoin and the crypto market plays out this week. Thank you so much, Olumide. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and that's a wrap on the crypto space and the program. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 p.m. for Business Incorporated. We have a special edition today. We're going to be covering the MPC Decision Day live at 1:30 right here on Channel Television. Do set your time and reminder for that. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.